Welcome, silent travelers. Welcome to the hidden dimensions of Surrealism. Today, we are standing in the most terrifying place on Earth, right in front of your own reflection. Have you ever stood before the mirror, staring deeply, relentlessly into your own eyes, and truly wondered, who have I become? This is not a casual question about your age or your appearance or the latest fleeting trends. This is a much deeper interrogation, a profound, uncomfortable query about the true soul, the core self, hidden behind that familiar, yet somehow alien face. In Carl Jung's profound analytical gaze, humans are not merely a collection of a body and a series of fleeting thoughts. We are, in essence, the crucial vibrating bridge connecting the turbulent, chaotic inner world and the demanding, structured outer world. When this bridge tilts dangerously, when the person staring back from the mirror no longer structurally aligns with the true person residing inside the sanctuary of the soul, we don't just see ourselves as slightly less vibrant, we begin to sense ourselves deviating, structurally dangerously from our essential true potential self. Every time we consciously, deliberately avoid the mirror, every time we evade those candid snapshots, we are not merely running from a flaw in our appearance. We are, in profound truth, evading a harsh, difficult, self-inflicted reality. We are running from the painful fact that we abandoned ourselves long ago. Thus, this journey is not a superficial tale of beautifying to fit societal trends, or obsessively prolonging youth, or attracting shallow external validation. This is a deep, structural story of mastering your destiny through the ritual of the mirror. It is about utilizing your outer appearance as a vital daily spiritual discipline, designed to honor the complex, sacred landscape of the soul. It is the profound realization of why, if you do not addict yourself healthily to the stark, immediate truth of your own image, you will continue to addict yourself to the paralyzing mediocrity, the soul-crushing self-neglect you currently allow yourself to sink into. And in the next few minutes, I will show you precisely why standing before the mirror each morning is the most vital, most necessary spiritual ritual of a lifetime. I will show you how to transform the simple act of grooming your appearance into a direct, powerful, non-negotiable path into the depths of your own unconscious. If you still possess the profound courage, the spiritual stamina, to genuinely gaze back at the self, stay until the end of this broadcast. Perhaps today will be the first time in many years that you truly behold the sovereign person you were born to become. Let us begin with part 1. Jung and the truth. Appearance is the language of the soul. I remember the most successful, most integrated person I ever met. A person of profound inner alignment said something to me that structurally shifted my entire perspective on life. He echoed Jung's very spirit, the heart of his psychological law. He stated simply, your outer appearance is a direct, honest, unsolicited reflection of your inner, unmanaged world. He continued, with unnerving clarity, if you cannot master what you see in the mirror each morning, you will never, ever master your destiny. That statement didn't just echo meaninglessly in my ears, it pierced deeply through the defensive shell I had used to conceal the harsh, undeniable truth about myself. I once mistakenly believed appearance was mere vanity, a frivolous detail, that simply living decently was justification enough for my neglect. But that deliberate denial, that intellectual dismissal of the body, was the very mask that distanced me most profoundly from the honest, true, present state of my soul. People often say appearance is merely the shell, something external to the soul, and utterly unworthy of conscious concern or investment. They label self-care, self-maintenance as shallow, superficial, and purely selfish indulgence. But humanity has never lived in a neutral, literal world of objective facts. We inhabit a dense, living world of symbols, where everything holds meaning, often more meaning than our articulated words themselves. Even a carelessly chosen, wrinkled shirt, a heavy, shuffling, reluctant step, or an eye devoid of inner light and focus, these are all symbols screaming a deep, immediate truth. Jung understood this subtle, symbolic language more profoundly than anyone else. For him, appearance was not merely material. It was the living, undeniable language of the soul, The specific way you walk, the posture you hold when you sit, the quality and intensity of your gaze at another person, all of it reveals what your carefully chosen words often desperately strive to hide. You may tell the world you're fine, you're coping, you're successful, but your body, in every subtle detail, every unconscious mannerism, always testifies more honestly against your verbal claim. Try observing someone entering a meeting room after a night of deep internal distress or crippling anxiety without asking a single question. You instantly see the pallor of the skin, the sleeplessness etched on the face, the tension frozen on their brow, and you instantly grasp the heavy inner state, the emotional load they carry into that space. Conversely, when someone enters upright, eyes bright and focused, breath even and steady, you sense their potent, centered, integrated energy immediately, even before they speak a single unnecessary word. That is the profound, undeniable world of symbols in action, constantly communicating. Clothes do not merely cover the body, they tell the internal, psychological story of how much value, how much fundamental respect you place on the vessel of yourself. Eyes do not merely see, they reflect whether you are fully living or merely existing in existential stasis. Appearance is never just appearance. It is an honest, unsolicited, powerful transmission from the unconscious. To grasp this profound truth, this language of symbols, more deeply, we must touch upon the two most essential foundational concepts in Carl Jung's complex psychological thought, persona and self. The persona is the social mask, the carefully constructed image you meticulously create to enter and interact successfully with the external world. It is the necessary armor you wear for professional settings, the polite, automatic smile you display in meetings, the specific demeanor you strive to maintain before the evaluating, demanding gaze of others. Without a functional persona, without this necessary social shell, you cannot navigate the subtle complexities of community, you cannot survive the social pressures of society. But the persona is critically, fundamentally not your true self. It is merely the surface layer, the necessary role, the protective psychological shell for survival in the social realm. The self, however, is the deepest, most sacred, most untouchable center of the entire human being. It is the soul's reservoir and domain, holding both brilliant aspirational light and deep, complex shade. The seeds of all your potential dreams and the roots of all your paralyzing fears. The self holds your strongest capacities and your most fragile, vulnerable parts. The self is where your deepest, non-negotiable truth resides and where your destiny is anchored. When the persona and the self harmonize, when they are perfectly aligned, when they face the same directional pole, life flows effortlessly. There is an authentic power, a centered energy to your outward presence that others can feel. But when they diverge too far, when the mask becomes a suffocating cage, strain immediately emerges in the very structure of your soul. Have you ever stepped out into the world, wearing an image, adopting a role that you no longer genuinely recognize as truly your own? Ever felt the acute, chilling sensation that you were living a borrowed life, an existence fundamentally inauthentic to your core values? That sensation does not stem from merely wearing the wrong clothing color or having an outdated hairstyle. It arises from the profound discrepancy, the existential widening gap between the persona you project and the self you actually are. And herein lies the true, often misdiagnosed terrain of clinical depression, the quiet, creeping horror of the modern midlife crisis, and the pervasive emptiness felt even amidst an outwardly stable, successful, and enviable life. Many people mistakenly believe midlife crises stem solely from chronological age or the failure to hit external milestones. In truth, they begin precisely when the inner self fractures, when its voice is suppressed by the demands of the outer mask, when you look in the mirror and see someone whom your soul no longer recognizes, no longer connects with, no longer trusts. Precisely for this reason, appearance cannot be structure. Ali severed from the psyche. The two are one system. The body is the living, breathing bulletin board of the unconscious. It is the final, honest, uncensored display. Everything you consciously refuse to voice, every difficult truth you repress, every sacrifice you deny, Your body will articulate for you clearly and without censorship. Every mental scar you attempt to suppress beneath the surface is meticulously etched into the quality of your posture, the tension in your jaw, the flatness of your gaze. Every prolonged endurance of emotional pain, every year spent people-pleasing, it imprints as tension lines, as physical hardness, as deep chronic fatigue on your face and frame. People often deem obesity, chronic fatigue, or persistent disheveled appearance as mere surface lapses in discipline or the result of tight schedules or overwhelming external work pressure. But from Jung's powerful analytical perspective, these are merely symptoms of a profound soul adrift. The light of the self is dimming. The energy is leaking through the cracks of the persona. Look closely at a person's worn, mundane shoes, the small, forgotten details. You will instantly see whether they honor their arduous journey through life. Observe the subtle care they take tying their hair, folding their shirt, choosing their colors. You will instantly see whether they honor the sacred vessel of themselves, one who truly lives with purpose, with profound radical self-awareness, never, ever allows their appearance to devolve into a chaotic, screaming reflection of inner decay and defeat. There is no necessity for conventional beauty, or excessive luxury, or unrealistic perfection. Only wakefulness, only profound, focused presence. Have you seen those individuals who desperately drape themselves in excess? Too many logos, too much beer and ostentation, or dressing elaborately to mask a gaping inner insecurity. At such times, appearance ceases to be the soul's honest language and becomes merely a thick, pathetic barrier against profound inner fear. On the surface, they seem aggressively confident, they seem to have control, but peer deeper into their eyes and you instantly glimpse the desperate, hungry void, the fear of being truly seen. Conversely, some individuals dress simply, lightly, yet they command profound, authentic attention the moment they enter a room, not because of their expensive attire, but because their inner and outer worlds are perfectly securely aligned. That is the desired state Jung termed unity, when persona and self face the same direction, when you use appearance not to desperately conceal your flaws, but to freely express your integrated truth. The image you create naturally carries an undeniable, centered, self-generated power. Observe someone in the depths of collapse, in the midst of a life crisis, and you will see their body speaking volumes for them. Shoulders slump inward dramatically, steps slow down dramatically, clothes are thrown on haphazardly, eyes instantly lose their essential, life-affirming spark, and when they offer the empty platitude, "I'm fine," you know, instantly, profoundly, that it is untrue. The unconscious is always relentlessly more honest than words. The body is the silent, unflinching mirror, reflecting the internal battles you secretly wage. All these manifestations are language, and appearance is the powerful, unsolicited way the unconscious speaks directly to the external world. "I am well," or "I have profoundly lost myself and need to return." Once you understand this deeper layer, this systemic truth, you will no longer view appearance as mere frivolity or vanity. You will see it as an essential, vital map to the inner realm, a crucial tool for deciphering the quiet, vital movements of your soul and its need for integration. And when you fully realize that the body always, relentlessly tells the truth, that it is the uncensored messenger, the mirror you face daily, that sheet of reflective glass reflects not just your outer appearance, but the very fabric of the unconscious itself. It is the definitive door, the powerful, immediate gateway to your deepest, most honest, most vulnerable internal place. The moment before the mirror is always a non-negotiable moment of profound truth. No stage lights, no external excuses, no comforting roles to hide behind, just you and the precise, unyielding image staring directly back at your soul's current state. There are days you gaze in, and you see yourself clearly, radiant, full of authentic, self-generated vitality. But there are agonizing days you look, and you see someone else entirely. A strange, weary face, sunken eyes, a vanished, unfamiliar smile. You feel a sense of profound alienation, an existential strangeness, as if viewing a neglected, forgotten stranger in your own home. That sensation is no baseless, random neurosis. It is the precise moment when the outer image, your persona, no longer matches the inner, truthful self, yourself, from a neuroscientific viewpoint. Each mirror gaze triggers a sophisticated, high-speed comparison process, deep within the structures of your brain. It immediately juxtaposes the raw physical image you see with the crucial, complex mental image you hold of yourself, your deeply internalized self-concept. That mental image is not mere hopeful, future expectation. It is a complex, integrated synthesis of all your memories, your deepest dreams, your core values, your highest potential, your parallelism, fears, and, most critically, what you deeply believe you fundamentally deserve. If these two images align perfectly, if the external self reflects the internal truth, an instant sense of wholeness activates across your entire system. Your body visibly relaxes instantly, your mind brightens. Neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin subtly rise in the brain. You feel confident, clear, centered, as if your inner essential power has been completely unlocked and is flowing freely. Many people call this merely a good day, without knowing the profound structural, psychological reason why. But truly, it is the rare, precious moment when the persona and the self lie perfectly on the same energetic line. Yet when those two images diverge sharply, when the gap is significant, everything instantly shifts to high alarm. The brain registers an immediate, disruptive anomaly signal. The ancient limbic system sounds the alarm. Cortisol surges instantly. Heart rate subtly alters. The stomach tightens faintly. The mind begins to flood with paralyzing self-doubt. You feel shame for your own appearance, profound disappointment, intense, undirected irritation with yourself. Without knowing the deeper root cause of the distress, you don't know what specifically to change externally, only that something feels profoundly off internally. Off where? Off in the fundamental link between the person you know you aspire to be and the actual person currently reflected in the glass. Off in the cavernous, existential gap between the image you believe you truly deserve and the image you are currently willing to tolerate out of neglect or fear. Have you ever gazed in the mirror and felt like you've lost your own fundamental light, like a pilot light has been extinguished? That is no sign of simple chronological age. It is a terrifying sigh. GN of disconnection from the inner self. The more severed you become from your true being, the stronger the sense of strangeness, the alienation, the unfamiliarity in the mirror, not because your appearance has changed too much externally, but because you've ceased living authentically in alignment with your inner truth. The mirror merely reveals the truth, the psychological reality that you consciously refuse to confront in your daily life. And the intriguing, disturbing part, people do not fear the mirror because they fear mere ugliness or physical imperfection. They fear it because it mercilessly exposes the chasm, the devastating, unaddressed gap between the ideal, powerful self and their current, compromise-ridden, defeated reality. A woman who follows our channel once shared a striking personal story. She admitted that she completely stopped looking in mirrors for a staggering period of 2 full years, not from a lack of time, not from a pragmatic, busy schedule, but because each quick glance showed her someone who had profoundly given up on their potential, someone who once dreamed big, ambitious dreams, brimming with vibrant, centered energy, was now merely fulfilling duties, surviving the day, not embracing it. She brushed her hair hastily, applied makeup superficially, actively avoiding her own gaze in the bathroom glass each morning. That was not the act of busyness or efficiency. It was the profound, self-protective act of fearing the truth. When we consciously no longer wish to look at the mirror, it is the strongest, most urgent signal that we have neglected our crucial inner world for far too long. We do not merely forget self-care routines, we forget who we fundamentally are and who we promised ourselves we would become, and the self, the deepest reservoir of truth, begin to knock insistently. It knocks gently at first, then more insistently, through pervasive feelings of emptiness, through whispers of regret, until you can no longer successfully pretend that everything is fine. The self does not speak in easy words. It speaks through a palpable heaviness in the chest, through unexplained, crippling fatigue, through quiet, persistent whispers that you are no longer living your true, authentic version. And the mirror is the precise psychological location where that vital voice rings clearest and loudest. If you dare not look into the mirror, you are actively turning your back on your own self, the deepest, wisest, most honest part of you. The mirror does not force external change. It merely shows you the accurate distance, how far you have strayed from your true being. It reminds you relentlessly that you cannot flee from yourself forever. One day you must stop running. You must turn back to finally face your soul's current expression. And when you do, when you embrace that moment of stillness, you will finally understand why Jung believed the journey of structural healing always begins in the moment you stand still, gaze into the mirror, take a deep breath, and admit the profound structural truth. I have abandoned myself for far too long. Understood. I will now generate chunk 4 of 7, ensuring it is significantly expanded and rigorously detailed to meet the strict 8,000 character minimum, maintaining the fragmented human cadence style and continuing the thematic exploration of the mirror's psychological function for surrealism, fearing the truth, not the ugliness, chunk 4 of 7. This section deepens the fear of the mirror, introduces the distinction between narcissism and alignment, and discusses the internal signal of the self. This chunk ensures the 8,000 character minimum is met, and precisely from the powerful moment we begin to truly look into the mirror, a greater, more sophisticated question arises from the depths of the psyche. What, fundamentally, are we grooming our appearance for? What is the intention behind the ritual? You will come to understand why Jung never once regarded appearance as a mere frivolous detail or an act of surface vanity. He did not view appearance through a judgmental, moralistic lens, but through the eyes of a meticulous symbol analyst, a spiritual cartographer. And to delve deeper into this journey, we must grasp the most easily misunderstood concept, the idea of a healthy addiction to appearance. In Jung's spirit, this addiction is entirely different, profoundly distinct from classical pathological narcissism. It is not a shallow obsession with physical beauty, but a deep, driving journey to reclaim the profound, lost wholeness of the self. Many people hear about conscious appearance grooming, and they immediately jump to the negative conclusion of narcissism. They imagine someone standing before the mirror for hours, purely admiring their own form, constantly taking photos, editing their image, posting online, and desperately waiting for external validation, for likes, to fill the profound void within. That is narcissism. It is an addiction to external attention, a desperate need to be seen and confirmed from the outside, because the internal self is too empty, too afraid to stand alone. Someone pursuing this kind of destructive grooming is like endlessly inflating the persona, shutterstock, explore, until it completely obscures and tragically crushes the authentic self. They fear they are not inherently attractive enough, valuable enough, worthy of love on their own, unedited terms. So they use the outer image as a thick, complex, protective mask to escape that existential fear of being found wanting. But the more they embellish and enhance the external image, the further they tragically stray from their true, authentic, integrated being. Appearance then ceases to be a functional symbol of the soul and becomes a suffocating, elaborate fortress, concealing profound inner fragility. In complete, dramatic contrast to this pathological narcissism is the desired state of alignment. Alignment is the spiritual condition where the outer image precisely matches the inner truth of the soul. This is the state Jung wanted us to fully understand and achieve. When you groom your appearance in the right way, with the right conscious intention, you do not do so for external compliments, not to prove anything to a judging society, not to show off wealth or status, but to express an internal integrity, to declare that you respect the sacred person inside, enough to demand the outer image reflect that truth. Truthfully, this is self-care born of profound awareness, not shallow obsession. It is a vital ritual to honor the soul, not a terrified flight from insecurity. To make this concept clearer, imagine your soul, the deepest part of you, as a sacred sanctuary. If you had a priceless, sacred statue in a room, Would you ever allow it to grow moldy, cracked, and completely covered in dust and debris? Of course not. You would clean it carefully, preserve every intricate line, cherish every detail, because you profoundly understand its intrinsic value. Yet with your own living body, many people treat it like cheap, disposable ware. They let it exhaust itself, neglect it, let its vitality fade. They spend hours tending to external things, their phones, their clothes, their cars, but cannot spare a few conscious minutes for the living essence within their skin and flesh. Jung once said with unnerving clarity, the body is the living symbol of the soul. It is not merely a vehicle for movement, it is the vessel holding light and shadow, the place the soul chooses to dwell throughout life's entire journey. When you care for the body, you care for the soul. When you disdain appearance, you disdain the deepest, most sacred part of yourself. A woman once shared with me that she felt guilty spending time on beauty because she thought it was selfish and frivolous. But when I asked her, if your soul were an honored guest, how would you treat it? She fell silent for a long time. Then she said, I've never thought of my body as the soul's actual dwelling place. That simple statement marked the first crucial shift in her healing journey. And this is the core, vital message. Addiction to appearance, according to Jung, is not beauty addiction, but addiction to the alignment between the image you see in the mirror and the uncompromising truth you feel inside. When you bring consciousness to brushing your hair, choosing your shirt, keeping your body clean, adjusting your posture, tending your skin, you are doing far more than just improving your looks. You are transmitting a profound signal to the unconscious. I respect you. I am ready to live true to your real potential. The unconscious is intensely sensitive. It registers every single small deliberate action. A simple act like smoothing your shirt before wearing it sends a powerful, non-verbal signal that you value internal order and external structure. A conscious morning stretch tells the unconscious you are open, physically and emotionally, to the new day's possibilities. A conscious glance in the mirror to ensure you are truly presentable is your profound way of affirming to yourself that you have not yet completely abandoned who you are. If you have read this far, it means you are not just skimming lines to alleviate boredom. You have chosen to pause, to let the hard questions touch the core of your being. That says something vital somewhere inside you. The self has begun to speak. You no longer want to live halfway. You no longer want to look in the mirror and see a neglected, forgotten version of yourself. By now, you likely see the issue clearly, the gap between persona and self. But knowing is never enough. The more important, urgent question is, so, tomorrow, how will you face the mirror differently? From here on, we will move past mere awareness and move directly into action. The following keys are not complex theory, but small foundational rituals you can apply tomorrow, right in your familiar bathroom, right before the mirror you may have once avoided. We will go step by step, very small, so you not only understand Jung intellectually, but begin living differently, starting from how you appear before the mirror each morning. Practice 1. The principle of the true mirror. This is the first, most foundational principle in the journey toward healthy addiction to appearance in Jung's spirit. This is not about the glass on the wall, but the sacred, terrifying moment. You stand before it with absolute, unblinking honesty. Jung believed every genuine transformation begins with facing the truth squarely, and no place reveals the immediate truth more clearly than your own face each morning. Imagine tomorrow morning, before you do anything else, you stand before the mirror for 30 seconds. No brushing hair, no adjusting clothes, no trying to manipulate the image to look better. You simply look directly into your own eyes, as if meeting an old, forgotten friend, a friend you haven't spoken to in ages. Many people feel immediate awkwardness, profound discomfort, and a slight cold fear. That is the precise sign. You have avoided the truth of yourself for far too long. But those 30 seconds are the key, the non-negotiable step to reconnecting with the self, the truest, most honest part of you. In those 30 seconds, ask one simple question, and only one. Am I truly ready to step into this day as my full, present self? If the answer is genuinely yes, you will feel a gentle, quiet certainty in your chest. But if the answer is no, you will know immediately. Eyes lacking focus, face weary, shoulders slumped. This is not the time for self-blame or harsh judgment. It is time to listen to the self. The self is saying, you are not yet ready to be present as yourself. And that is the moment you can adjust right away. Start with the smallest possible thing. Straighten your posture, smooth your hair, change to a shirt that makes you feel more defined, more present. These tiny actions hold immense psychological power. They send a powerful counter-signal to the unconscious that you are trying to return to order, that you respect your being enough, not to step into the world in profound disarray. Jung once said, the unconscious does not understand words. It only understands symbols and actions. When you adjust a single hair, the unconscious knows you want to adjust your life. When you choose a clean, well-fitting shirt, the unconscious knows you demand to appear with greater dignity. When you stand tall, the unconscious knows you want to live at the height of your soul, not the contracted height of your paralyzing fears. When you maintain this habit, you will notice a subtle but profound change. You begin to see yourself more clearly. You know when you are losing yourself. You can when you veer from your core values. You recognize days when your soul desperately needs care, and days when it wants to break through its limits. And most importantly, you no longer feel like a stranger in the central narrative of your own life. Practice 2, the 10-minute sacrament. The next step is learning to care for yourself as a ritual, not as an annoying chore. Jung believed every purposeful, repeated action becomes a powerful symbol, and symbols are the language that truly reshapes the unconscious. Thus, the second key is the 10-minute sacrament, a small, finite span of time, but one with the structural power to shape your entire day's energy and frequency. Each morning, dedicate exactly 10 minutes solely to the task of self-preparation. Do not rush through washing your face, brushing your hair, and changing clothes like a mindless mechanical routine. Instead, commit to truly being present in every movement. Those 10 minutes are like a focused spiritual morning greeting to the soul. Treat it as a ritual, to consciously open the door to the new day. When you wash your face, do not just wash to clean. Wash as if rinsing away layers of emotional weariness, the fragments of psychological dust clinging after a long night of internal processing. Feel the water touch your skin. As a reminder, today I am awake. When you moisturize, brush your hair, or apply a touch of deliberate perfume, regard each motion as a conscious way to connect with your body, as if preparing a sacred gift to present to the world. You do not do this to look better in others' eyes, but to let your own unconscious see that you profoundly value the journey ahead. These small, focused motions are like ringing a bell in an ancient temple. It calls the scattered soul back to its rightful centered place. Have you ever tried choosing clothes? The one single, powerful question. What energy do I want to carry today? Not trendy, not following anyone, but selecting what makes you feel more defined, more anchored. A color that genuinely brightens your spirit. A fabric that comforts you more. A style that makes you stand slightly taller. That is the profound journey of using appearance to consciously set the intention for the whole day's energy. In Jung's view, these small rituals are not superficial acts. They are forms of individuation at the molecular level. You are using appearance to tune the soul to the right, authentic frequency, like a musical instrument needing daily tuning. Humans too need moments to recalibrate each morning. No yoga clock needed, no luxury spa, no extravagance. Just 10 minutes of conscious, focused presence. Practice 3, the contract between you and yourself. Once the 10-minute sacrament has helped you return to presence, the next key is the anchor that keeps this journey from being swept away by busy, demanding days. That anchor is personal standards, a non-negotiable contract between you and yourself. No one else can sign it and no one else can break it. Personal standards are not must be beautiful, must be elegant, or must be perfect. It is simply the minimum acceptable state you agree to give yourself each time you step into the world. Jung once said, "The unconscious always observes us, even when no one else does." Thus, personal standards are not for show. They are for the moments when you are alone, in the bathroom, when no external evaluating eyes are upon you, when you face the rawest truth. It is precisely those private moments that build or break self-respect. Start with a simple question. What minimum state of neatness, presence, and dignity do I allow myself to appear in the world? Not the best state, but the lowest you see. PT, without betraying yourself. For some, it is simply always clean, neat, lightly scented, and with an alert gaze. For others, it is always choosing attire that shows genuine self-respect. Whatever your standard, the key is fiercely holding it, even when no one is watching. A man I once met set his personal standard as, always appear with enough neatness to respect myself. He did not need expensive suits, but he never allowed himself wrinkled clothes, lazy unshavenness, or wearing exhaustion on his face. He said, not for others, but because each time I let myself be sloppy, I am teaching the unconscious that I am not worth investing in. Jung held that true self-respect is not born from external praise, but from discipline in private moments. When you keep your promise to yourself, the unconscious registers it and returns internal security. When you break the promise, the unconscious knows, and it immediately erodes the vital trust you have in yourself. So choose one standard, just one. Perhaps never leave home with messy hair, or always choose attire that makes you stand taller. When you maintain that standard, you are reinforcing a vital part of the self, inner integrity. Now we introduce the radical simplicity of the 1% philosophy. This is where the true, deep work of individuation takes root and begins to flourish. Jung always reminded us that genuine individuation is not a sudden, dramatic leap of faith. It is a long, slow, enduring journey, full of nearly invisible, yet structurally significant, small adjustments. Thus, the deepest, most permanent change always begins with steps so light, so minuscule, that outsiders do not even notice. But the sensitive, internal unconscious recognizes the shift clearly and instantly. The 1% philosophy is simple in its execution, but immensely powerful in its psychological effect. Each day, commit to consciously improving your appearance or your energetic presence by just 1%, no more. One small, specific, feasible action, 1 millimeter of forward motion. People consistently fail, not from a lack of genuine will or desire, but from setting changes too large, too ambitious, making the unconscious feel acutely threatened by the pressure. When the unconscious feels pressure, when it senses the threat of radical overhaul, it immediately resists with procrastination, with internal sabotage. But when you advance millimeter by millimeter, steadily, quietly, it does not resist. It accompanies you. It begins to facilitate the change. Think of it like meticulously tuning a delicate string on a priceless instrument. You do not twist the tuning key hard enough to snap the string. You turn it slowly, bit by bit, until the pitch, the sound, is perfectly precise. Appearance is the same. It needs no violent overhauls. It needs small, but relentless and steady adjustments. One day, try consciously correcting your sitting posture for just 5 minutes. The next day, change your hairstyle slightly, opting for a look that feels more defined. The following day, try a different shirt color, one that makes you feel more aligned with your inner energy. These seemingly trivial things, these minor adjustments, have an immediate, disproportionate effect on the unconscious. The unconscious registers that you are moving toward wholeness, not fleeing anything, but drawing closer to your true being, yourself. Start with the absolute simplest changes. One day, practice straightening your walk, shoulders slightly open, chin a bit lifted. Another day, spend 5 conscious minutes on deliberate skincare. Someday, wear cleaner, better-fitting shoes, or switch to pants that make you feel more like yourself. No need for much, just 1% of intentionality. Jung always believed the unconscious responds most strongly to clear, simple, consistent symbols. When you change something, however tiny, the unconscious knows you are heading toward inner unity. A small action sends the powerful message, I am coming back to you. When that message repeats day after day, the unconscious creates a powerful magnetic pull, taking you further than any frantic to-do list ever could. The 1% philosophy also helps you overcome a familiar psychological trap, the sense of crushing failure that arises from changing too much too quickly. 1% never fails because anyone can achieve it. There is no reason to quit. no reason to despair, and that continuous, unbroken streak of small success creates immense internal power. Imagine your integrated version after 365 days of 1% changes, not forced beauty, but profoundly truer living. Eyes aligned, face lighter, posture cleaner, body brighter. Gradually, reliably, you enter the state Jung called psychological unity, the perfect alignment between inner and outer. Practice 5. The multiplier effect. Once you have taken small, consistent steps to adjust yourself according to the 1% philosophy, you will begin to notice an intriguing, powerful phenomenon. Those deep, subtle internal changes do not stop at you. They spread outward into the spaces you enter, into how others instinctively respond to you. This is the profound spiritual engine, the multiplier effect. What Jung called psychological contagion. Your inner world, your level of personal integration, always seeks ways to express through your outer presence. And when that happens, your energy becomes a resonant frequency that directly influences the emotional state of others in your orbit. Jung believed human psychology is deeply contagious. When you carry inner chaos and disorder, you automatically draw chaos and confusion into the spaces you pass through. When you carry order, stability, and clarity, you unconsciously spread that peace and trust to others without uttering a single sermon. Grooming appearance in true Jungian spirit is not just an act for yourself, but a silent gift you bring to those around you. You grant them a sense of safety, trust, and the profound feeling that they stand before someone fully present, fully anchored in their own life. I once met a man over 40 managing a large team. He told me he never cared about appearance because he believed work results were all that mattered, but his employees described him as sloppy, lacking vitality. His entrance into a room brought an almost palpable heaviness. No one questioned his competence, but everyone felt the subtle disorder he carried, the chaos he did not see within himself. When he began applying conscious appearance care principles, within weeks, team feedback profoundly shifted. They said he was clearer, more present, more focused. Strangely, he did not speak more, did not work much differently externally. He just fundamentally changed how he appeared. And that change rippled outwards. Team members grew neater with their plans, more focused, more productive. That is the multiplier effect. When you are internally ordered, the external world around you automatically adjusts to that frequency. When you enter a meeting with attentiveness, a clean, neat appearance, and clear, focused eyes, you unconsciously transmit, "I respect myself and this space." Others sense it instantly and respond with corresponding seriousness and respect. Practicing this effect is simple. Each time you prepare to enter a new space, your office, a meeting, a date, a conversat, eye on, pause 10 seconds, look at yourself in the mirror and ask, what energy am I bringing here? If it feels chaotic, adjust one small detail. Smooth your shirt, straighten your back, take a deep breath, reset your gaze. These small actions instantly elevate your presence quality. And when you do this regularly, you will realize an unexpected truth. The world begins treating you according to how you treat yourself. That is why Jung always believed personal wholeness is the most profound gift you can give the collective, and appearance, when cared for rightly, is the strongest, most direct channel for that gift. Appearance from this moment forward is no longer just skin, hair, and clothes. It is your powerful, silent, non-negotiable whisper to life, "I am ready to be present." Each self-care gesture is no longer a frantic race against time or age, but a small, firm exclamation point. You consciously place in the affirmation, "This life, this journey, this presence is worth my kind, whole, ordered commitment." Let us consolidate the final profound truth of this entire ritual. You are applying the multiplier effect. Your wholeness is contagious. When you are internally ordered, when your persona and self are aligned, the external world around you automatically adjusts to that frequency. When you enter a meeting with focused attentiveness, a clean, neat appearance, and clear, focused eyes, you unconsciously transmit a powerful code, "I respect myself and this space." And you will too. Others sense it instantly and respond with corresponding seriousness and respect. They cannot help it. This is not magic. This is psychological contagion. This is the power of the integrated self projecting its reality. And when you do this regularly, when you live by this code, you will realize an unexpected truth. The world begins treating you according to how you treat yourself. The world is merely the reflection of your internal standard. That is why Jung always believed personal wholeness, personal integration, is the most profound, most necessary gift you can give the collective, human consciousness. And appearance, when cared for rightly, with intention and awareness, is the strongest, most direct channel for that powerful gift. Now, let us turn to the final terrifying truth of the mirror. The most terrifying thing of all is not that you become physically uglier or older or lesser in conventional value. No, the terrifying existential horror is the day you look in the mirror and realize you have stopped daring to dream. The day you realize the person staring back has extinguished the spark of potential and has settled for a life far, far smaller than the one you were born to live. If today, in the reflected eyes before you, there is still a spark, a flicker of the self, however thin, however faint, hold it, honor it, protect it. As long as you start from the mirror with honesty and intention, the rest of the journey, the soul will inevitably guide the way. We must conclude with the ultimate sovereign statement of the healed self. You are no longer the victim of your external demands. You are the architect of your internal reality. The self is the master of the house. The persona is merely the useful servant. When you commit to these daily rituals, to the true mirror, the 10-minute sacrament, the personal contract, and the 1% philosophy, you are actively reversing the control dynamic. You are pulling the inner world back to order by arranging the outer world. You are declaring the end of self-abandonment and the beginning of self-loyalty. A man around 50 once told me he never bothered with appearance because he believed appearance was unnecessary for competent, serious people. A very common delusion, and one that quietly destroys the soul. But entering a crisis phase, he realized he was so deeply weary, he no longer wanted to look in the mirror. I asked him, "Do you see the person in the mirror as no longer the one you think you are?" He nodded, tears in his eyes, and I shared what Jung emphasized. Appearance then was no longer about superficial beautifying. It was a crucial, urgent reminder, a non-verbal signal that it was time to return and tend to the deepest, most neglected part of himself. When you understand appearance this way, every single act of self-care becomes a ritual of individuation. Washing your face is not just washing, it is rinsing away the psychological dust, the layers of psychic accumulation, clinging after a long day of emotional exposure. Choosing attire is not just about picking colors, it is consciously selecting the frequency you wish to emit to the world. Standing tall is not just about posture correction. It is a powerful, embodied reminder. I have the right to be fully present in this space. And when you begin living this way, when you embody this truth, you will understand what Jung meant throughout his entire life. The ultimate privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This journey back to self, through the mirror, is the final surrender of the false identity and the ultimate crowning of the authentic self. You are no longer allowing the persona to dictate the terms of your existence. You are no longer living merely to satisfy external expectations or hide inner fear. The mirror stops being a place of judgment and becomes, finally, a gateway to self-acceptance. It reminds you that the greatest change is not on your face, but in your eyes, the eyes of someone who knows they deserve neatness, the eyes of someone present, unshakable in their own life. This is your final gaze, your sovereign moment. As long as you start from the mirror with honesty and intention, the rest, the self, will guide the way.